Hey, Westside Leavenworth, we may be off script, but we are still on mission. Thank you for taking the time to watch this Leaders Look. What do I mean by off script? Well, everything in your life and my life right now, most of our lives have gone off script. We're teleworking, we're using things like Microsoft Teams and Zoom to connect with family and work co-workers, and even in our life groups, everything in our world has gone off script of what we call normal. Parents are now working at home as teachers, and they're now homeroom teachers, something that is off their script. Finances, maybe in your world, have gone off script. And really our future right now is off script from what we know to be normal. And this week here in Kansas, the governor has extended our stay-at-home order, and we're going to continue to be off script for a while. But I want you to know this: while our lives are off script, you and I are still on mission. That's right. While we are off script, we are still on mission. As of today, we don't know when we will be able to regather again together in person. But we want you to know that, and we want to continue, we want you to know that we want to continue to equip you as a leader who serves in whatever capacity right now that you serve. We want to equip you to serve, to have influence in your home, to have influence for those of you that are still working, for those of you that are in your neighborhoods and right now you're at stay at home and you're maybe not working. We want to continue to partner with you, not just to make sure you're resourced for what your daily needs are, but we want to continue to equip you to be on mission as you serve your neighborhood. We will be updating you over the weeks, each week, as to when we get more information. And we're going to be equipping you for when we are able to gather again and able to return to our gathering. We know we'll know more about that whenever we get that secure date or a date in place, and we'll know more about what we need to do at that time. And at that time, we'll know how we can best equip you so we can continue to create weekend experiences that we want to create, that your family and you and your friends and your loved ones and the people you want to invite can continue to grow in their relationship with Jesus. And those that don't have a relationship with Jesus, that can discover it and join us on our mission of loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus. Until then, we know things may be different. And even when we regather, things may be different. And that script may look different. But here's the thing that stays the same. Our mission of loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus doesn't matter what the script says. We can always and will always do that. So until then, until we regather, we want to make the most of this opportunity. Right now, God has turned our homes into the hub for His mission. And we want to continue to equip you to be on mission, even though your life and my life is now off the script. So in this video, I want to encourage you with two choices. And the reason I'm dressed up in my baseball gear, this is what I coach this is our uniform for our baseball team, and we have been off script too. We haven't been able to play this year, as all sports have been canceled and off script. And I want to encourage you with the two things that I tell my team at every practice, before and after, in every game, before and after. And the reason I want to tell you this is not because I want you to feel like a 10-year-old. The reason I want to tell you this is because I believe these two choices are two values that Christ followers make when life, especially when life is off script. So no matter what happens to you, you have control over two things. This is what I tell my team, and this is what I want to tell our leadership team. We all have two choices. We have choices over two things. So when life goes off script, leaders on mission choose their attitude, and we choose our effort. When life goes off script and you don't have control over it, you get to choose your attitude and you get to choose your effort on this mission. See, sports teams who have grit, great teams who have grit, great players in life who have grit, They choose their attitude, and they always choose their effort regardless of what happens. We did a series at the beginning of this year where we called it Grit, and we entitled it Grace Revealed in Trials. And that was the whole idea. And I believe as leaders, God reveals His grace to us in the trials that we face. When life goes off script, we can still be on mission. And the way that we can do that is make sure that we're always choosing our attitude and choosing our effort. You can't choose what happens to you, but you can always choose how you respond, and you can choose to have grit. So we want to encourage you to have grit and choose your attitude and choose your effort. So we can be gritty leaders in those two ways. We can be gritty leaders when life goes off script and out of our control, which right now for every one of our world is, we can say it's out of our control. And we can have grit by choosing our attitude and choosing our effort. I want to look at these real quickly. So let's first look at choosing our attitude. You can't control what happens to you, but by God's grace, you can control your attitude. Again, let me say that. You can't control what happens to you, but by God's grace, you can be a gritty leader in this trial and choose your attitude. So what's the attitude of a gritty leader? What's that attitude? What's that choice we make in this? Well, it's the choice to have the attitude, the same attitude as Jesus. And I want to read to you what Philippians 2 says about the attitude of Jesus. In Philippians 2, verse 5, it says this. In the NIV, as I'm going to get it here real quick, here, this is what it says: in your relationships with one another, because that's where our attitude affects, mainly our relationships with each other. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset or the same attitude as Christ Jesus. See, this is what we are to do. We're to have the same attitude. So how do we do that? Well, Paul, in this letter to the Philippians, he precedes this. He says this in verse 3, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Well, let me back up to verse 2. He goes, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love. What's the same love? It's the same love as Jesus. So our attitude is like Jesus, and it's fueled by the same love as Jesus. See, Jesus would say, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. That's our attitude, no matter what happens to us. We have this attitude. It's the same mindset, the same love. And you can be a gritty leader by having the same love as Jesus. You can choose that regardless of what happens to you. And then he goes on to say, being in one spirit and of one mind, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interests of the others. And then he says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Jesus. So what do we do as gritty leaders? We have the same mindset as Jesus. What's that mean? We have the same love that He loved us. We love others with that same love. And we have the same humility. And what that same humility does is that is a gritty attitude that puts other people above myself. See, gritty leaders, has a gritty attitude. And what's that gritty attitude? A gritty attitude that is a humble attitude that values others above yourself and looks to the interest of others. See, when things are out of our control, gritty leaders choose their attitude. They choose their attitude with their spouse. They put the interest of their spouse. At home right now, you get to lead in your home and you get to lead your spouse. How do you lead as a gritty leader? You put you value your interest of your spouse ahead of your own interest. Your kids, your colleagues in work, and your neighbors. This is what gritty leaders do. We value others above ourselves. This is the attitude we have. We choose our attitude. We can't choose what happens to us, but we can choose our attitude in the middle of it. So gritty leaders choose their attitude. And secondly, gritty leaders choose their effort. You can't control what happens to you. You just can't. You can't control it, but you, by God's grace, can control your attitude. Colossians 3:17 was it was a verse that I would put on my first business card as a young teenage boy who was mowing yards. And that verse has been something in my life that has been a guiding principle for me, because I always can choose my attitude, regardless of how menial that task seems to someone else. I have always seen this, that everything I do for the Lord. And that's what Colossians 3:17 says. It says this, "And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." And then he goes on to say, wives, this is how that effort is handled out. Husbands and wives, you need to choose your effort in this, how you do this. Wives, submit to your husbands as fitting to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Right now, this is the time in our homes that we need to have gritty attitudes and gritty effort within our homes. And you can lead in your home and influence your spouse, putting them first and doing it as unto the Lord. So everything you do it as unto the Lord. This is your response of thanksgiving to him. This is what a gritty leader does. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. And then fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. So this is for kids to parents. This is how we become gritty leaders and parent our kids. We put their interest ahead of our own. We parent them appropriately, and we do our best at that. We choose our effort in this. And then he goes on to employees. So in this time, it's slaves. And he goes, slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, and do it not only when their eye is on you and to curry their favor, but with sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. You're working from home. You're going to do it even though your boss isn't watching you. You're going to do it as if God is watching you, because you are grateful for everything he's done for you. You're grateful his grace, and his grace is revealed in this trial that's making us work at home, and we're going to do our best. That's what Christ followers do. We choose our effort and we choose our attitude. And as we choose our effort, we do it as if we are grateful for everything God has given us. And then he goes on to say, again, this, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. So whatever you're doing right now, whether you're mowing your yard or you're mowing your neighbor's yard, or you're going to the grocery store for someone, or you're serving someone, or right now you get the opportunity. You can't choose how long the stay-at-home order is. You can't choose what happens to you with your company. You can't choose your financial situation. But I say this with all sincerity, because of God's grace revealed in this trial, you can be a gritty leader. And you can choose your attitude, which is the most important thing, because your mindset right now will take you and enable you to choose your effort. So in everything you do it as a response of gratitude for what God has done for you. See, this is the grace God gives us as leaders, and it's revealed to us in the trial we face. And we, in this, can choose our attitude, and we can choose our effort. See, gritty leaders do this because we are on mission of loving Jesus, becoming like Jesus, and sharing Jesus. And we're going to continue this conversation next time. And we're going to continue to update you and equip you and prepare you not just to lead here in this season, but to lead wherever you live, work, study, and play. And as we get more information, we're going to update you about when we gather back again to church. Until then, hey, I love you, and I'm grateful for how you lead wherever you have influence. And we're going to continue to give you ways to be gritty leaders wherever you have that influence. And until then, remember this, that gritty leaders choose their attitude, and we choose our effort regardless of what happens to us. Thank you for being a leader who serves with grit, on mission, even though we are off script. God bless you, Westside.